Hey guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, we're going to be learning Yesterday by the Beatles. Now first off, I've got to give big props to my friend AJ for co-arranging this tune with me. We've worked on quite a few songs together, and each time it's been a ton of fun. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this arrangement. And I gotta say that this piece is going to be perfect for the intermediate fingerstyle player. Now it's not a really challenging piece in terms of what our right hand's doing. I think the challenging aspects of it deal with our left hand. So as you saw in the performance, you are moving up and down the neck a little bit, but I think the biggest challenging aspect is the chord work. So there's a lot of chords in this tune, and some of them require a bit of an unorthodox fingering to be able to fret and to get those transitions from one chord to the next nice and smooth. But of course, we'll be covering all the ins and outs to get you playing this piece nice and perfectly. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this lesson. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and learn the first half of the tune. But if you want to watch the part 2 lesson to learn the second half, you can do so by clicking this link or going to rockclass101.com and doing a search for Yesterday. Now also on that page will be the tabs that you can print off to follow along with, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now this is a great feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish, just a great asset in getting this piece down that much easier. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into learning it. There's a couple things we want to talk about really quick. The big elephant in the room is this is a piece for low G, so make sure you grab your low G ukulele. Now the second thing I want to talk about is our right hand approach for finger picking. And I think this is a great piece for using a 3-finger approach, which means your thumb gets string 4 and string 3, index gets string 2, and middle gets string 1. Now you can use a 4-finger approach where each finger gets its own string. That works fine too, but mostly I'm going to stay with the 3-finger approach. Now the last thing I want to talk about is that we're going to be counting out rhythms as we go throughout this piece. Now rhythmically it's a very, very simple tune. So if you need a little bit of a recap, I'm going to put an intro to understanding how to count rhythms in the description box below. But honestly guys, the best way to really understand how rhythm and timing connect is to learn to read standard notation. So if you want to do that, you can jump into our course right here. All right, so let me go ahead and kick into it. We're going to start with our intro. It's only 2 bars in length, and here's what it sounds like. So super short, super simple, very easy to play. So go ahead and make a G chord. Now, here's the one thing that you're going to change about it. Lift that middle finger up. We don't need it. So we only need string 4, 3, and 2. So this is a G5. That's the chord that we're technically playing. So to start with the first measure, all we're going to do is play the open G and then follow it up with a double stop. And a double stop is a fancy terminology that means we're plucking 2 notes at the same time. So our double stop is string 3 and string 2. So we're going to pluck that together, but we're going to do it 3 times. And each time I'm just going to keep finger pressure held down so you can hear it rings out and sustains. So I have a nice beautiful sustain. I don't want to hear a chop 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 or anything kind of staccato-y like that. So putting it together, we have open G, then 3 plucks of the double stop. And if you look at the rhythms, you can see that we're keeping it nice and even and steady. So we have all eighths, 1 and 2 and. Okay? Going into the second half of this measure, we're literally going to repeat what we just did. So we're going to have the open G and then follow it up with 3 more plucks of the double stop. So that entire bar together is, okay, all eighths. Let's try together. Let's keep it nice and steady. So we have 3, 4. So very simple so far. Now as we go into measure 2, the first half of it starts the exact same way. So So we have the open G followed by 3 plucks of the double stop. But the second half of it is different. We're literally going to pluck our way down the chord. So we're going to go string 4, string 3, string 2. Now if I play measure 2 in its entirety, it makes a little bit more sense because we can see and hear it as a whole. So here's measure 2 together. Okay, so it's very simple. Let's see if we can try that together. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Ready, go. So it's pretty simple, right? The only thing that you want to be aware of is that last note. It's a quarter note. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and try with me. Okay, if we backtrack, let's try measures 1 into 2 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. So pretty simple stuff so far, right? That's our entire intro. So now that the intro is done with, we get into what I like to call the cookies, which is what everybody loves. Everybody loves the cookies. It's the melody. So the first bar, we can start to hear that beautiful melody that Paul McCartney sings. So you can hear, yesterday. Okay, so we're jumping into our cookies. So this is our verse. So just that first bar of the verse, this is measure 3 if you're following with the tablature. So we have, first thing we notice, we are playing out of that same chord shape, but there's only one tiny little variation. The A string is open. So go ahead and have the A string open. So we're going to start this bar with a strum across all 4 strings. After that, I want you to pluck string 2 twice. So we've got strum 2, 2, and then we're going to finish it up the same way we did measure 2 by plucking straight down that G5 chord. So string 4, string 3, string 2. Putting it together, very simple. If I call out the hits, I have strum 2, 2, 4, 3, 2. Now, if we look at it rhythmically, it's actually pretty simple. We have 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So very easy to play. Let's give it a shot. So we have 3, 4. Nice. Now as we go into measure 4, it's going to be a little bit tricky. This is where we start to get into that intermediate level of playing. So let me do this. Let me play the bar by itself and then we'll break it down and learn it. And we're going to learn half of it at a time. Okay, so that's what it sounds like. So we have quite a bit of movement. We've got some crazy jumps happening. But let's break down and learn just the first half. So before we actually learn it, let's fret this chord. So we're playing this F sharp minor with a added 11. What a fancy name, right? But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the middle, put it on the 4th string 2nd fret. Then our index goes on the 3rd string 1st fret. Middle is on the 2nd string 2nd fret. And then pinky is underneath that. So it's the 2nd fret of the 1st string. So I've got 2, 1, 2, 2. So get comfortable with that shape. And here's the thing I want you to be thinking about. As I go from the previous measure into this new one, watch what happens when I fret and form this chord. Do you notice that on the first beat of measure 4, I don't have all my fingers down to make this F sharp minor chord. I only have these 2 down. So watch that again. That's the trick. I want you to keep that in mind. You don't have to form the entire chord at the get-go. We're going to be adding fingers as it's needed, as it's called for in the music. So more on that in a second. But go back and make this entire chord shape for me. So 2, 1, 2, 2. So here's what we're going to do for the first half of bar 4. We're going to play string 4, string 3. Then we're going to do a double stop, which is the second fret of string 1 and 2. And then another double stop, but move your pinky up to the 4th fret of string 1. So we have a double stop again, string 2 and 1. So I've got 4, 3, 2 and 1, 2 and 1. So a little bit tricky for that last hit. So take a second, maybe put it on a loop. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Get comfortable with that. Now, backtracking to the thought that I left you with earlier. When you're actually playing this tune as a performance, you don't have to make that whole chord shape right away. So if I play the 3rd bar, I'm going to lift my ring finger up. We don't need it right now. I'm going to drop that index finger down a half step to that 1st fret, add my middle finger up top to the 2nd fret. Then I'm going to start playing what we've learned so far. String 4, string 3. You know the double stop's coming out, so put those other 2 fingers down, pluck that, move the pinky up, pluck that double stop. That's how you're going to get that transition down nice and smooth. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and. So you can hit pause and practice that transition. It's a little bit tricky, but now that you know the trick is not to form the chord on beat 1, add it when it's called from the music, 1 and 2 and. So we add that on beat 2 and then the end of 2. Right, so we add it when it's called for in the music. That makes playing way more efficient and way easier. Okay, so there's the first half of bar 4. It's the first tricky thing we've seen so far. If we look at the second half of bar 4, it's a little bit tricky as well. So if you make the G7 chord, if we move this shape up to the 6th, 5th, and 6th fret, we end up with a B7. So what happened? We had a G7, moved it up a whole step, A7, moved it up another whole step, B7. If that blew your mind and you have no idea what I'm talking about, check out this lesson on the caged method. It breaks it down and explains exactly what I just did right there. Now, with this chord intact, so B7, 6, 5, 6. We're going to go ahead and do a strum. So just give me a down strum from the 3rd string down. And then I want you to play the 7th fret of the A string with your pinky finger. So we've got strum, 7 on the A. Now lift that pinky finger up, move this chord shape up a step and a half. So that means 1, 2, 3 frets. So now you're on 9, 8, 9. And give me a strum from 3 down, and then add your pinky again to 10 on string 1. So you're literally doing the same thing here as you're doing up here. So you just need to get the muscle memory down of moving up and down the neck by a step and a half. So what you could do with this one is you can put it on a repeat, kind of like what we did with the first half of this bar. And once you do feel comfortable with that, let's see if we can backtrack and try the entire bar together. So let me do this. Let me play through one time so we can get the context of what it sounds like, and then you and I will try it together. All right, so let's give that one a shot. So we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what makes it a little bit less daunting is that rhythm stays constant. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... But again, what makes it tricky is this is not the easiest chord shapes to fret, and we've got some big jumps happening. So one trick with the jump is that you want to make use of the dots. These are your guides for jumping around the fretboard. So remember that these dots, they're not only printed on the actual fretboard itself, they're also printed up top. So don't lean the ukulele down like this to look at the dots. Use the guides up on the top right here. So the thing about the dots is it's not uniform with every brand and every model of ukulele. Some, the first dot is on the 3rd fret. Some of them, the first dot's on the 5th fret. So just take a look at what you've got to get it memorized. But in my case, first dot is 3, second dot is 5, third dot is 7, fourth dot is 10, and the double dot is usually the 12th fret. So if I can memorize 3, 5, 7, 10, 12, then I can do these jumps way easier because my eye stays on the prize. I know that I go up to this B7 and I know that it's going to be 6 and 5. So I know my index finger needs to go up to the 5th fret, that second dot. So I keep my eye on that dot, eye on the prize. I don't watch my hand move up like that, right? So my eyes and my face and my head, it's not following my hand like that. Instead, I keep my eye where I want my hand to go. Okay, so that's one trick that you can make use of is the guide, the dots on the fretboard. So let's do this now. Let's go ahead and backtrack. I'm gonna play through bar 3 and 4, and then we'll try it together. So it sounds like this. Okay, so let's try that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if that was a little bit too fast, you can always use the YouTube cog to slow it down a little bit. But of course, if you are a premium member, then you can use the interactive on-screen tab viewer, which is super fun and super awesome because you can set it to any speed incrementally that you need. So if you're at that tempo, you can do it at that speed. So let's go ahead into the next measure. So measure 5, it's gonna sound like this. So I think it's a little bit easier than the previous bar. So we're going to start with a partial bar. So take your index, lay it flat on the 7th fret, strings 1, 2, and 3. Next, we're going to take our ring finger, put it on the 9th fret of string 1. So this first hit's going to be a strum from 3 down. Then I want you to play string 3 by itself, and then lift the ring finger up, and you're going to pluck strings 1 and 2 together. Now you can hear that I'm doing it twice, but what I want to do is I want to pop the first of those double stops. So I want it to be kind of like that, like a ba-ba. So we have a pop sustain. So I have strum 3, pop sustain. Okay, let me play it without calling over it. So you can hear it. Da 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 da. So I want you to try and match that with your playing. So strum 3, pop, and then sustain. So the question is, how are we doing the pop? How are we doing this staccato? Well, the trick is actually really simple. All I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pluck the notes, the double stop, string 1 and 2, and then I'm just going to lift pressure up with my index finger. So you can see it's held down, and when I want to staccato it, I just lift pressure up. And when I lift pressure up, I don't remove the finger at all. I'm still touching the strings, but remember, when we touch the strings, that's how we do like muted strums, right? So it cuts the sound, so you don't hear any notes. So when you do the staccato pop, just lift pressure up like that, still touching the strings. So it mutes it as if you were lightly touching to do a muted strum, and then just push pressure back down and keep it held out so it sustains. So you've got strum 3, pop, whoop. Try again. Strum 3, pop, sustain. Okay, so try it with me. We'll keep it nice and even. 1 and 2 and. So here we go. 1 and 2 and. Okay, not too bad. Now, next up, we keep this index finger as a partial bar, and we're going to go ahead and add our ring finger to the 9th fret of string 4. So play that note, then hit the same double stop, string 1 and 2. And at this point, I want you to lift your index finger up. So it's like a full bar now across all 7 strings, across all 4 strings on the 7th fret. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to play the 4th string, and then double stop the string 1 and 2. So watch the transition that's happening. I'll start at the beginning of the bar. So you can see that my hand just pivots up to go into the full bar for the last beat, beat 4. Again, watch that transition. Strum, 3, pop, sustain, add the ring finger to string 4, 9th fret, double stop, transition up with the index, string 4, double stop. And take a break too, because doing all these full bar chords, they take a tremendous amount of finger strength, especially if you're playing on a smaller scale instrument. Like I have a concert, it's a lot more challenging to do bar chords on some of these smaller scale instruments than like the tenors or the baritone sized instruments. All right, so let's see if we can try that one together. So we have all 8th notes. So let's see if we can keep it nice and steady. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now, as we go into our next measure, it gets a little bit easier because we don't have to do any of these bar chords. So here's what our next measure sounds like. Okay, so we're going to start with an open C. And that's going to last an entire beat, so we've got a quarter note. After that, we're going to use our middle finger and our index finger to fret this C chord. So take the middle, put it on the 8th fret of string 2, and your index is 7 on string 1. And I'm just going to do a little bit of strum. You can pluck it if you want as a double stop. Either one works, so strum or double stop plucked. But together you have 1, 2, and. So after you hit the double stop, you're going to come back and hit string 1 by itself. So O, strum 1. Okay? So pretty simple. As we go into the second half, we're going to lift our middle finger up, drop the index down to the 5th fret, string 1. Now take that middle finger, put it on the 6th fret of string 3. We have a double stop here, but we're going to pluck 3 and 1 together this time. Okay? So you may want to practice that transition. Just like that. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So not too bad. Next, take your pinky, go to 8 on string 2, then 7 on string 2 with the ring, lift the index up, play the open A. So starting from this D chord, we have double stop, 8, 7, open A. But all 8, so keep it nice and steady. 3 and 4 and. So putting that together, we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Okay, let's try you and I. So we have 3, 4. Okay, and a little bit slower. So we have 3, 4, 1. Nice. So that measure, I think, is definitely a lot easier to play than the last one. But let's go ahead and do this. Let's try 5 and 6 together. So together it sounds like this. Okay, let's try you and I. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now, I'm going to go ahead and backtrack and play these first 4 bars of the verse so we can hear everything together. So it sounds like this. So that's a pretty good gist of where we're at so far. So very, very beautiful melodies. Now as we go into our next couple bars, they're a little bit simplified. So here's what the 7th bar sounds like. So you can see we're not really having much movement in our left hand, so it becomes pretty easy to play. So we're starting with this G sus4, and it's going to be our ring finger on the 7th fret of string 3, pinky finger's the 8th fret of string 2. So we're going to strum 4 to 2 with the open G. After that, hit the open G again, and then move your pinky finger underneath the ring and give me a double stop of 7 on string 3 and 2. And take note that that first hit of the double stop is a staccato. So give me a little pop right there. So we've got strum 4, pluck, pluck. Okay, so strum 4, pluck, pluck. Maybe we can call it strum 4, pop, sustain. Okay, 1 and 2 and. So pretty simple. As we continue for the rest of this bar, we're gonna hit the open G again, double stop, but sustain it, and then hit the open A. Now, rhythmically, this is a little tricky. You have 3 and 4 and. So you can hear the end of 3 is a quarter note. 3 and 4 and. So you want to hold it for just a little bit longer. Let's try that together. So we have, starting just on beat 3. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. And one more time. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Let's try that entire bar together. So we have together 3, 4. So that one's a little tricky because of that syncopation at the end. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So if you want, you can just count and clap for right now. But once you get it down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds like that. Now as we continue to this 8th bar, it's going to sound like this. Okay, let's break that one down. So we're starting with E minor, the same staircase shape that we all know and love, but with one little twist. Take that ring finger, move it up to the 4th fret of string 4, drop your pinky underneath, 4th fret of string 3. So we're going to be playing all 4 strings. But here's the thing, just like we saw earlier in this tune, we don't have to fret the entire chord shape on beat 1 from the get-go. Instead, we're going to be adding the fingers as it's called for in the music. So let me do this. Let me play measure 7, going into measure 8, and you can see how the index finger doesn't get added till later on for this E minor chord. So it sounds and looks like this. So that's the trick with that transition. We don't have to go all at the first hit, or that first beat, okay? So now that you know the chord shape, go ahead and lift that index finger up. We don't need it right away. And we're just gonna strum the top half of this. So we've got string 4, 3, and 2. Then hit string 3 by itself, then add the index finger down. And give me a double stop on strings 1 and 2. Okay, so I've got strum 3, double stop. After this, go to the basic A major and give me a pluck of all 4 strings. So putting that together once more, I've got, so strum 3, double stop to the A. Rhythmically, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Now here's what happens. On the end of 4, you're gonna play the open E. So counting and rhythmically wise, sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So a bit tricky because you're holding that A chord for a lengthy amount of time. Let's see if we can try that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I backtrack, I'm going to try 7 into 8. So let's see if we try those two together. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this. Let's take a look at our 9th bar, and this is going to be the ending for the verse before we repeat it again. So here's what the 9th bar sounds like. So it's actually pretty simple to play. So we're going to be starting with a C chord going to a G chord. Now our C chord is going to be a little bit of a different shape, so we've got a different voicing. So it's the same staircase shape as E minor. So if you make the E minor chord and move it directly up a set of strings, so string 4, 3, and 2, and you move it forward to the 5th, 4th, and 3rd fret, we end up where we want to be for the C major. So I'm going to go ahead and do a strum, string 4 to 2, and then hit string 3 by itself. Then go to the basic G and give me 2 plucks, but the first one staccato. Okay, so let's see if we can try that together. So here we go. 3, 4. Okay, not too bad. Now to finish it up, we're just going to be doing what we've done before, playing out of that G5. So 4, 3, 2. Putting it together, I've got. Okay, let's see if we can try that together. So we have 3, 4. Nice. Now that's going to be everything for the verse. So if I cycle through this entire verse, I end up with this. So at this point, what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to play the same 3rd bar, same 4th, same 5th, same 6th, same 7th, same 8th, and then instead of the 9th bar, you're going into the 10th bar. The 10th bar sounds like this. So what's the difference? One note. There's only one note different from the 9th bar. So you're starting the same, C, string 3, double stop on the G twice with the pop on the first one. And here's the change. Instead of going 4, 3, 2, you're gonna go 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And it's that simple. So if we try that 10th bar together, we have 3, 4. Okay, and that's everything for our part 1 lesson. So guys, we're about halfway through with this tune. So if you want to learn the second half, which covers that beautiful B melody that he sings, the chorus, then jump into our part 2 lesson, which you can do so by clicking this link right here or going to the site rockclass101.com and doing a search for yesterday. Now also on that page were the tabs that you can get to print off, keep for your records, plus the really cool interactive on-screen tab viewer. So you can literally hit play, watch that tab scroll across in real time. You can highlight sections to loop them, slow it down to any speed you want. Just a great asset in getting this tune down that much easier. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning the first half of the tune with me, and I'll see you in the part 2 one. Take care.